changing in the last 16, going to the wooden rack, the shot clock, and of course that race to 11.
Yeah, dry breaks have been very rare, haven't they?
Yeah, especially with such a, I would call, pretty square hit. Dennis didn't get the most out of that safety. Now there's a little difference on the tables as well. The bed has been changed. I believe the rails have not, though. So still the rails should grip a little bit, but the bed's going to be a touch faster. You may have a sliver of this one feel, but like I said, Dennis didn't get the most out of that safety. That cue ball really should have been welded to the back of that purple 5. And again, we have 3 matches going on, so we'll keep you updated with scores, but this is the main match. Look at this play here from Ruiz. Very creative and really didn't get as much out of it as he deserved. May have left a gap for Dennis, if not at least a pretty doable jump shot. Now I think for Dennis, which he's been in a good situation, good ever since the Whirlpool Masters, staying here in the UK. I think the one thing that he has to deal with a bit more of, it's just a bit of nerves at times. We all know where he stands in the pool world as far as ability, and he's really a guy that's stood the test in many different ways, but this is a big one, the inaugural UK Open.
One thing he doesn't lack, savvy. He's got all the moves, all the experience. Like so many of the great Filipino players, he does things that sometimes you don't expect, but afterwards you think, well, that makes total sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Really a genius physically and mentally on the table. And the thing about Dennis is he's always still learning. It's kind of amazing. Now, one thing that was talked about in the opening is the shot clock.
Extension, please.
And I always like Carl's opinions, and I usually value them, but I think there is going to be some situations that we notice the shot clock very much affects certain players. And maybe all the players at some time or another. Interesting little shot here, all speed control. Well, that was surprising he went that route. He's going to need a bump on the 8, and he got it. It's another one of those instances, especially on the new felt, right? First time on the table. That shot kind of makes sense, even though it did look like it needed a little help. And the one thing that Dennis can rely on is his ball pocketing. You know, if all the players have a little trouble with the cue ball position and you just get in that mindset to keep burying the shots, he's definitely one of those guys that excel in that manner. Got to cheat the pocket a little bit here, it looks like. Maybe even a rail first, which you would want to avoid. Looks like that's what he's playing.
He pulls off that particular shot so well. Just caught it slightly thick. That's why he's not made the full journey, but this shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, no matter really what kind of rail first shot it is, a kick shot, an offensive shot, the Filipinos definitely the best in the world at it.
Yeah, they call him Robocop. I call him Dennis the Menace, because when he's in form, he is a real handful, and he's been in form here He's won 5 matches. Started off with a couple of comfortable victories over Anders Edvarsson from Sweden, 9-1. Then he beat Chris Seville 9-4. His third match, though, was anything but easy. He trailed Jonas Suto Camino from Spain, a youngster, 20-year-old. He trailed him 5-0 and 7-2. Camino had a golden break in the 9th rack to take that 7-2 lead. Orcollo came back to lead 8-7, and then Camino missed the 8-ball to take it to Hill. As for Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, well, it's been one tough road this after losing his first match. He was 6-0 down in his second against Ashik Nathwani. Came back to win 9-8. That breathed new life into his title challenge. And since then, he's beaten the likes of Pia Filler, the wife of Joshua Filler, Dmitry Yungo, Alex Gazakis, Ko Ping Chung,
Rack number 2.
and Wojciech Szewczyk.
Our current score is 1-0 in favor of Mr. Orcollo. Mr. Orcollo to break.
All right, no wing ball again. Did get one down in the corner. He's going to have a decent shot on the 1, but the 2 all the way back down table. And you know, as far as Ruiz is concerned, these fields of 256, when we do have them, there's going to be 3 or 4 events like that this year that are considered majors or close to majors, if not majors. But there's usually going to be someone that loses early as the top seeds that has to try and make it through. And for Ruiz, he had to just say, why not me? You know, why can't I continue? And he just got stronger and stronger. What an opener there from Dennis.
Talking about the field size, 256. When Francisco Sanchez Ruiz won the Derby City Classic 9-ball in southern Indiana earlier this year, there were 473 entries, so this is a walk in the park. But not playing Dennis Orcollo, that most certainly isn't a walk in the park.
Extension, please.
No, absolutely. And another funny shot here. Again, these guys are going to have to get used to the new bed. It's been 4 or 5 days since they've really dealt with that. All speed and line here. What's the 5 going to do? I think it's got a little short. We'll see in a moment. Doesn't look too unhappy, though. Okay. And he's already taken the 3 away, so he did end up with a shot. Great start here for the Filipino champion. We talk about Dennis a lot. He has a lot of different paces of play at times, it seems, and it's almost like he'll start off fast when he's a little, you know, more nervous than normal, and then kind of settle in. Whatever type of shot he addresses sometimes gets his attention and slows him down.
Dennis breaking and running, looking even more of a menace. He has won so much over the years. Being here to him is second nature, and I would put him amongst the favourites to go all the way and lift the silverware tomorrow night, Jeremy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you can look at 4 or 5 out of the 16 that are really the biggest names in pool. We're missing a few, of course, but I'll tell you one thing early on this table, though, that will settle some of these guys is not seeing that wing ball go in. You know, at the early stages of this event with the template, you know, I think why we saw some things happen to some top players, maybe even some abnormal mistakes, is there was a lot of pressure because they knew even players that were not quite their caliber could really put a lot of racks together and sit them in the chair.
Well, case in point, it's Dennis Orcollo's opponent, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, when he beat Alexander Kazakis. Kazakis scratched in the 6th rack to make it 3 each effectively, and then FSR ran out the next 6 racks, break and run, break and run.
Number 3. Current score is
Yeah,
2-0
Ruiz, a
in
very
favor of
highly
Mr.
ranked
Orcollo.
player in the world of
Mr.
pool
Orcollo,
today, but
to break.
you can expect that from him from time to time. But I saw it from a lot of players that were down the ranks. I think it's going to be a different story in this final 16. Well, he's made that same ball back up in the corner, no wing ball again. So again, to me, that will settle a guy like Dennis, because a 2 or 3 or 4 rack lead is really substantial. He's made that same ball back up.
Also, Jeremy, if things get tactical, he's one of those players who's got a world of acumen.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, I think he'll settle in knowing the corner ball isn't just wired. And of course, mistakes are still going to be at a premium. It's going to cost you matches, whether it's 1, 2, 3 mistakes in a match. But at least you feel like you'll get some time at the table. Interesting little shot here. I think he can throw the combination in. It's a little bit dangerous. The one's going to come up for sure. Wow, what a great start for RoboCop. Okay, wanted a little more out of the cue ball there, Phil.
Yeah, you were saying it's a great start for RoboCop, and it's been a great week for Filipino pool. Johan Chua won the gold medal in the Southeast Asian Games in Vietnam, the 9-ball singles. And also we had the joyous announcement earlier on this week that the Filipino team in the forthcoming World Cup of Pool, live on Sky
Attention, please.
in mid-June, the Filipino team is going to be Carlo Biardo, the US Open champion, and 67-year-old legend Efren Reyes.
Yeah, well, just those last few sentences from you, if that tells you anything about the Filipino, I wouldn't say dominance anymore, but just always going to be there in pool. You mentioned Carlo Biardo, U.S. Open champion. Efren Reyes speaks for himself. Dennis Orcollo here, and Johan Chua just winning the Southeast Asian Games. So always relevant, it seems like. Yes, the cue ball's tracking a little funny here. And this is kind of what I meant earlier, as far as I think everyone's going to have a little difficulty with the bed and the speed sometimes, but Dennis can just get down and keep pocketing the ball, which is so huge. And maybe it's more like Phil that he's not going to let being out of line with the cue ball bother him as much as some other players who really rely on the cue ball. Just a little pinch of the ball here.
Held that cue ball really nicely. I wouldn't say he's one of the premier potters in the game of pool, but because his position is so good, he doesn't need to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I watched him so much. I think he's way up there. And of course, his cue ball's always so good. But I mean, I was saying that I really think that if the cue ball's a little bit of trouble,
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
rack number 4. Our current score is 3-0 in favor of Mr. Orcollo. Mr. Orcollo to break.
The distinctive voice of John Lehman announcing the start of rack 4. It's been one-way traffic thus far.
And very interesting, it's been the back ball going up in the corner, the top right. Watch it off the back of the rack. That's 3 in a row for Dennis. Making the same ball. A little movement on the 9, but a great shot on the 1. Be interesting to see how he plays this. He's got to get all the way back for the purple 5 when he gets on the 3. I think the 6 passes the 8. Yeah, he's in great position. He doesn't seem too concerned about the green 6, so it must pass the 8.
Just picking up on what I was saying about Orcollo's potting before the break. He's very dependable, very reliable, and no doubt he could pull off spectacular if he wanted to. But he's not one of those players like a Filler or a Shaw who you see knocking wonderful ball after wonderful ball, because he's so efficient in terms of position.
Yeah, very creative and understands what's going on with the cue ball at all times. A little light there, so he's going to have to kill this a bit. Maybe a light stroke here on the 8. But coming from where he originated his pool game, the Philippines, the equipment was a little so-so at times, Phil, so you had to learn how to make a lot of tough shots.
All the way through this tournament, poor old Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has had to face major adversity, and that's mostly the case now. Dennis Orcollo steaming away into a 4-0 lead. Remember, in his second match of the week on Tuesday, he was 6-0 down, although with all due respect to Ashik Nathwani, the standard of opposition wasn't quite the same as this. Look at the players he's beaten. I was very impressed with how he performed against Alexander Kazakis, and then to overcome Ko Ping Chung 9-5. Quite often, Jeremy, as well, because he's on the loser's side, he was playing 3 matches pretty much in succession.
That's right, in a row. And the thing is, you can just have a lapse. I mean, you can feed off of those great matches, don't get me wrong, but it's easy to have a little bit of a letdown, and that's just wasn't an option here this week. You're going to get beat.
We talked about Dennis Orcollo's narrow escape against Soto Camino. He then beat Alexa Pachelch and Sanyan Pulovanovic. So 5 out of 5 for him, and in terms of racks in this match, 4 out of 4.
Yeah, watch for the back ball coming off the rack. Of course, it got kissed there, so maybe our first look, and definitely a different complexion as far as the break shot here in the final 16. And even though he's some inches away from the 1, nothing easy. He's got to back cut this a little bit and probably draw the cue ball into position. Good thing is, if he gets the 1 down and on the 2, you can see the 3 near, and that really gets the rack going. That was very effortless. Interested to see how he plays this blue 2. Looks like he's going to try and kill the cue ball. can't really handle straight in that well. This may be even a little worse than straight in. If he's drawing into the 8-ball, could be problems.
On table 3, problems for Sanyan Pilavanovic. He's 4-0 down to David Al-Kadi. On table 2, it's 3-1 for Mario He over Naoki Oi.
Okay, the bed, pretty slick. He's in good position, and I haven't seen Sanjin shoot yet, to be honest with you. Maybe 4 racks in a row from the break for David Al-Kadi. His countryman now trying to get on the board.
I've got to tell you folks, Jeremy Jones is remarkable. He's been watching, it seems to me, 24 tables at one soul this week, keeping an eye in particular on all of the American challenges here, because he's the US Moscone Cup captain again in late November, early December in Las Vegas. And we'll talk about it later, but he must be delighted that 2 Americans remain.
Yeah, I was very delighted that I believe we carried the most players from one country into day 4. And we knew some had to go facing each other and whatnot, but I was happy to see Skylar played a really solid match to get into the final 16 last night, and SVB's been all business the entire week. These 2 players here, I don't expect the shot clock to bother. A lot of experience between the 2 as far as that part of the matches here in the final 16. And Ruiz, after 4 in a row from Dennis, and really Ruiz getting no time at the table, pretty impressive out so far.
So, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz off the mark. We've seen on several occasions this week he can string a whole succession of racks together. Dennis Orcollo's lead reduced to 4-1, and he will be upset that the dry break basically broke his momentum. So we've had 5 racks so far in this match, 2 dry breaks, and that one was heavily influential. A 1-ball was there for FSR, and after that it was plain sailing.
And if you can see what I see, 2 very prepared players, very high quality so far, and I'm very interested to see also where FSR goes with the break. I think he goes to the right side rail opposite of Dennis.
He must feel armour-plated the way he's come through this week, Francisco.
Yeah, one 9-ball pool, of course, at any rank, but this rank especially, you have to have one heck of a chin. I'll tell you, you got to be able to shake a lot off.
Racket number 6. Our current score is 4-1 in favor of Mr. Creel. Mr. Sanchez Ruiz to
And I
break.
kind of felt he would switch sides, seeing the way the balls broke for Dennis. Oh, golden break.
That's the second one sustained, if that's the right word, by Orcollo this week. That's a way to get back into a match swiftly. Look at this. There's the 9-ball, and it's the 8 that very kindly nudges
want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
To the UK Open on this Super Saturday of Paul. 3 matches being played at the moment. What a fantastic crowd we've got on this Saturday as well. Latest score here on table 3 is David Alcadi 6, Sanyin Perlohanovic 0, and 3-all between Mario He and Naoki Oi. But let's go back now to the main table, table 1.
Thanks, Michael. It's been extraordinary stuff from Francisco Sanchez Ruiz's best pal, David Alcadi. I'll tell you about that in a moment when we see FSR smash into them to start rack 7. Well, Jeremy, that break wasn't dry. Just going back to Alcadi in rack 5. I believe he potted 5 balls off the break. Has Sanyin had a shot yet?
I don't think so, and I think Jason Shaw confirmed that on the break with me, that the young man hasn't made it to the table yet, and you think the lag isn't important. At times it can be the match. It's rare, but and it is a race to 11, so he does have some time, but he's got to get an opportunity first. Now Ruiz, who's not backing off the rack at all after that opening try break. In a great position here. He's got to make a little bit of a decision. You would think just come off his left side of the pink and come roam towards the green 6, but there's a little more to it than that. I think he's going to swing the ball. I think that's a smart decision, making sure, you know, it's kind of on him how it turns out instead of something a little unlucky happening. That cue ball ran a bit more than he probably really wanted, but still okay, and it's nothing about the 6. It's about getting proper on the 7 to get back up table for the 8, and again back down table for the 9. Yeah, that's the concern here.
Extension, please.
And this is falling just a touch funny, and it's because the 9-ball. You know, you don't want an angle on the brown 7 where you're kind of cannoning into the 9. So he wants to get as heavy as he can. Still a little awkward, but he should follow his ball up somewhere around that right side pocket. Keep it simple. Well, I'll tell you, after not shooting much early, he looks very comfortable at being Ruiz.
Given his route to this stage, he might start to feel he's destined to win this thing, you know. And if you have that kind of feeling, positivity flows.
Yeah, absolutely.
How rapidly things can change at 4-0. Dennis Orcollo broke dry. He left the 1 ball on for FSR. He cleared up. He then had a golden break and looked good in that rack also. It is 4-3, a match that's living up to expectations. Still 6-0 for Alcadi over Sanyin Perlohanovic. 3 each now in another keenly contested affair. On table 2, Mario He and Naoki Oi. That was the winning 9-ball for FSR, who in the last couple of years has turned potential into international success. I think he's definitely on the radar for a European Mosconi Cup call-up maybe later in the year. He's certainly one of those players in that bracket who could be in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're talking about one of those players, that's a big bracket for Europe. you know, I feel pretty confident on their side for 2 or 3 for sure. But I can say that it wouldn't take Alex Laley to pick those guys, but he'll do his job, and it's going to be a tough job for number 4 and 5 on that team.
Yeah, Mosconi Cup, the fans delight, they love it. It's the 30th
Rack
of
number 8.
November
Our
to the
current score is
3rd of
43.
December at Bally's on the famed Las Vegas Strip. Can't wait.
Sanchez Ruiz to break.
Another great break off and really unloading on the rack. And I'll tell you, if Dennis Orcollo gets back to the table, or when he gets back to the table in the breaking end, I think he's got to switch to that side that Ruiz is on. We've seen the corner ball a couple times now.
In the previous rack, 2 balls chased each other at pace into the right-hand side pocket. On that occasion, it was 2 balls chasing at pace into the left-hand side.
Yeah, and he's very close to the 1, so that doesn't tell you really as much angle as he actually does have. So I don't know if he can roll this so easily and hold the ball. Again, he's close to it, so the touch should be good. And he held it easily. 6 ball's helping this little thin cut into the side, even though he doesn't really want to use the 6. That could tie the 6 up on the 9. You want to play this cleanly. Now, if you're going to play it off the 6, you go ahead and put a little more speed. That way the 6 and 9 don't lodge together. Looks like he's got to go up and down the table here. You wouldn't want to get on the thin side of the 6 where you're, again, going into the 9 with the cue ball.
Extension, please.
David Alcady keeps rolling along with his countryman Ruiz. That was all about the cue ball. He never really got settled, I don't think, on how he wanted to play the cue ball up and down the table, and a huge miss here. Hardly imagine you could miss it, it being that close to the hole.
Orcollo is grateful he did miss it, because that could be a real turning point.
And I'm very interested to see, after he clears these last 2, as he should, where he goes with the break next. He's had some success, obviously, from their left side, but Ruiz making more balls from the right.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how matches can turn. It looked as though Francisco Sanchez Ruiz had a wave of momentum, but then a simple pink ball went astray, and it's now Orcollo back in the pink, leading by a couple of racks at 5-3. And when you miss a ball like that, Jeremy, it's hard not to dwell.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you know, we'll see how long Dennis can sit him in his chair. That's when it'll really get old. Now, if he happens to get right back up with an opportunity, and got to remember, Ruiz has faced, you know, the most confrontation with himself all week, right? Losing an early match, down in his second, 6 racks to 0, and I'm sure there was a lot of stress in many other matches trying to make this final 16. So if anybody can handle a big miss in a big moment, maybe he's the best guy this week for it.
Table 3, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz's best pal They're really tight, aren't they, him and David Al-Qaedi? Al-Qaedi now 7-0 up. Mario he has taken the lead against
Our current score
Naoki Oi at
is 5-3 in
4-3.
favor of Mr. Orcollo. Mr. Orcollo to break.
I'll tell you, for Ruiz and Al-Qaedi, he did switch sides. I think that had to be. And he's turned out great here. Another great shot on the one. The two's over the pocket, but I don't know if many others noticed, but and I don't know if they know it, but Ruiz and Al-Qaedi have kind of unsungly started to groom many other Spanish players. Comina made a good run this week. Delgado, who played well. And I think more coming from the country of Spain. This is a little funny. I mean, on the slick table, getting from the 2 to the 3, you know, if you're in certain positions with the cue ball, it's pretty easy. But I don't know if he can get in that position I'm talking about. Oh, he's trying. He's trying to get down there below the 2. This is going to make 2 to the 3 pretty easy with the 4 near.
I will say, in fairness, Orcollo has had 2 or 3 quite benevolent nudges in this match. One in particular early on. But he's such an artist. He's in such control of that cue ball all the time. I think he makes his own luck.
Yeah, well, the shot on the 1, you know, if you're not a pool player, you may not understand. It was necessary to get back down table to make really position on the 2 to the 3 very doable. Otherwise, you're kind of, you know, in many other words, you could say you're gambling, trying to get that position shot. Still a lot of work here with the 5-7, very funny. We'll see how he fell on the pink 4. May have to draw back for this combination. I think that's something he wanted to avoid, but
Extension, please.
Just to repeat, it's a 30-second shot clock in operation now, and it's 1 30-second extension per player per rack. First 4 days, no shot clock. Now, a little different environment.
yeah, he'll just ease this combo in. Had a bit more angle there, so addressed it with a hair more speed, but in a great position now. Just a couple rails catching the 3rd rail for the 9 and should extend that lead.
There it goes. Dennis Orcollo more than halfway to victory. He's doubling up on Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. The scoreline is 6-3 to the Filipino.
To make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
That is the trophy for the inaugural UK Open. It's been played here at the Copper Box Arena since Tuesday morning, bright and early we were in, 9 o'clock.
Racket number 10. Our current score is 6-3 in favor of Mr. Orcollo. Mr. Orcollo to break.
Yeah, the first balls were potted at breakfast time on Tuesday. 24 tables in operation for the first 3 days. 8 tables yesterday. Now we're distilled down to 3.
And Dennis took a little speed off there, and the corner ball didn't go. He did make balls, but we've seen a variety of breaks here early and outcomes of breaks. We'll see how that continues, but I don't think you're going to be able to take a little speed off and really rely on a consistent break. I think you're going to have to unload a little bit like we saw with Francisco.
I get the impression with the inconsistency of the break, as you say, Jeremy, that the ultimate breaker, Shane Van Boning, will be around somewhere casting his eagle eye over proceedings.
Absolutely, and he'll be on one of the practice tables, I'm sure. Always does, puts in some time breaking every day. And tell you what, the good thing for him is I don't think he's going to change much.
Ruiz,
He's going to keep
your
doing what
option?
he's been doing, and doubt Ruiz passes this rollout. You got to figure out something from this position, I think, anyways. Can he just mildly bank the 3 up just on the top side of the 5? Kind of hold the cue ball behind the 9. It's not great. It's touchy. Could easily get away from me, but does look like an option. Don't like kicking behind this ball. Not at all. I like just rolling on it fully. And again, just letting it coast, you know, past the 9, near the 5. You're not going to send it very far. It's all touch. And I'm not only not surprised he took it, little surprised at the position of the cue ball after the rollout from Dennis. If you're going to leave that type of shot, you normally would put the cue ball on a cushion somewhere, making cueing much more difficult.
Yeah, I don't know whether Orcollo was momentarily flummoxed by the shot clock, but he played the rollout, the push out very quickly and didn't really put Sanchez Ruiz under any great pressure.
That's a foul. I got that.
But it's all worked out in the end for the Spaniard.
Well, in Dennis's defense, I mean, he knew it was going to be an easy kick shot in return, but you still don't want to leave an easy snooker just because you can't always determine, even as great a kicker as he is, can't always determine what's going to happen. And maybe a little mental lapse here early in rack number 10.
Yeah, as a collective, the Filipinos, when it comes to kicking, are out of this world, aren't they? So, although you could say some people might regard that as bad luck, for him, that would be a source of annoyance.
Yeah, and an error. That's where he would label it. So now Ruiz, who can, you know, set that big mistake aside, that pink 4 he missed that was very near the corner pocket. Not only get out here, but put a rack or 2 together. Did trail 4-0 after a dry break in the opening game. I don't think his roadman, his partner, I don't think he's lost the game yet still, and maybe has pocketed pretty much every ball in that session.
Attention, please. Extension, please.
One 30-second extension allowed per rack, and if you haven't taken it by the 9-ball, you might as well. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz refusing to go away. The scratch from Orcollo was fully capitalised upon, and Orcollo's lead is now reduced to only 6-4. So a sweet 16 players left in the UK Open, and the bracket, the draw, makes for very interesting reading indeed. As you can see here, the winner of Orcollo, Ruiz, will take on either Neil Svyan or Daniel Maciol. That's Holland against Poland. Up the top of that section, Shane van Woning against Mark Bosch and Oliver Sholnocki against Skylar Woodward. And then in the bottom half of the draw, well, David Al-Kaidi has got 1 foot in the quarterfinals already, leading Sanyan Perlovanovic 8-0. Al-Kaidi, if he does come through, will play either Mario He or Naoki Oi. He has pulled away from 3-3 to lead 6-3. Joshua Filler, Imran Majid also involved in that segment of the draw. So this is the shot that cost him, Jeremy.
Yeah, and he kind of probably anticipated a little more bounce off the 3, getting into the 9 with the cue ball for some type of safety, kick safety, and, you know, I think it was the rollout that really got him there, Phil, in my opinion. The kick shot, of course, you can't always be perfect, but even as good as Dennis usually is.
Now look at this, the 9-ball was in motion again. We've already seen one golden break from Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. I can tell you, David Al-Kaidi has just had a golden break on table 3 to move on to the hill at 10-0.
Well, he must have a lunch date is all I can tell you. He's putting on a show. Now this has gotten thin, and priority on pocketing the 1, and we'll see how he holds position on the 2. But with the triangle, we're going to see a little more movement with the 9 usually. And that's great speed control because that was touchy. He's fallen a little bit on the wrong side of the 2, so he's got to work the ball up the table and back down for the 3. The 7's such a huge ball that really limits options, so he may come 2 rails between the 4 and the 8, maybe, something like that. Or he's trying to come straight down, and he's going to get by the 5 as well, just narrowly, and he's great position on that red 3. That one kind of bounced a little bit. This may get a little thin and gonna be a stretch for Francisco.
Extension, please.
I think it will be the rest. Maybe the extension and the rest. Narrowly getting by the 5.
At several points this week, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz might have been tempted to wave the white flag, but he hasn't. He just keeps battling on, fighting away, and he's doing that again in this match. Denis Orcollo's lead reduced to 6-5. Now, Michael Bridge is down in the arena.
Thank you very much, Phil. Yes, this is now the practice tables for the players ahead of their last 16 tie. And I'm telling you, someone who's always practicing. He is the champion of the world, Shane Van Boening. Shane, how you doing? All good?
I'm doing pretty good.
You never stop practicing, do you?
No, I don't.
This is your life, isn't it? You just love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I do. I just love to play pool.
Have you enjoyed this week so far? So new tournaments, a special tournament. It's gone well so far, hasn't it?
It's doing pretty good, actually. You know, everybody's enjoying themselves, but, you know, I know everybody wants to win, but you just got to play the game.
How have the last few weeks been for you? I know Gibraltar, the Masters didn't go as well, but if you still got that feeling of world champion?
Yeah. I mean, ever since I won the World Championship, and, you know, things just different for me. You know, I want to play more pool. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Happy with your break?
Yeah.
And the message is they've got to be very good to beat you this week.
Yeah, I'm going to try my best.
We can't wait to see the world champion, Shane Van Boening.
Lovely interview with the man who's at the top of the new Nineball rankings, Shane Van Boening.
Mr. Sanchez Ruiz to break.
Yeah, and deservedly so. Talk about stories. This guy breaking the balls right now may be the story of the week. We'll see who's the eventual winner and who makes all the headlines, but so far it's been a lot about this guy. Okay, lost the cue ball a little bit. Fortunate the 8 does hang in a manner at least. Because tough rollout, but now he can maybe go after the jump shot knowing he's got a pretty reasonable combination to make on the 1-8.
On table 3, we will not be seeing an 11-0 whitewash. Sanyan Pilovanovic has won the 11th rack. It's his first. He trails David Al-Kaidi 10-1. Mario He going great guns on table 2.
Extension, please.
He is the man. He's 7-3 up on Naoki Oi right now.
Yeah, kind of my, you know, not middle of the pack of the tournament, but middle of the pack on the top players. My kind of pick for the week, Mario He. I think he had a long talk with himself after his performance at the Whirlpool Masters, and seems like he's a little more back to his old self. And figured he would take that on. He might keep the jump cue in his hand, getting snookered behind the brown 7. And Sanjin playing David Al-Kaidi has been saying for about 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes, let me just break once. And he's finally there at 10-1, so we'll see what he can get going. It's going to be a long road, but it'd be something special for the young man if he can put a few together.
Yeah, you can get one-sided matches in 9-ball, but this has been back and forth, thrust and counter thrust. And how about that?
And I think that was definitely played, trying to bring the cue ball back behind the 5 and the 7. You know, a lot of the guys want to kick firm at these shots, and they lose accuracy, it seems like, on the slick table. And I kind of like rolling this anyways. I think the cue ball might get behind the 9, maybe elevated somehow, maybe some type of awkward shot on the 1. Don't think I rip at this one, Phil. I think it's a lighter kick for me anyways.
It's a foul.
No love so here of late for Denis.
Not very often you see that, Jeremy. Consecutive kicks from the Filipino that result in scratches.
Yeah, like I said, the slick table makes it hard to really, calculate it as well as you would like or normally could on your table at the club or a table that's a little more broken in. But we'll see how Ruiz plays this with the 5-7 a little funny up the table. Should get very handy on the combination. And the reason why you would play the combination instead of a short side is it's not that hard to get the shot on the 5 and the upper left, but to get position on the 6, very difficult. Okay, here he should come 2 rails, I would think. You want to get close to the combination that way. Of course, pocketing the 7 a little easier, you would think, but also holding position on the 5 afterwards, very important. I would doubt he plays position on the 5 because if you fall funny, you could get trapped trying to get on the 6. So I still think he's going for the combo, but I could definitely be wrong. Yeah, this is going to be pretty heavy, isn't it? He's going to need some help here with the cue ball. Wow, that's not a position shot you would normally play, so I think a little fortune there for Ruiz. He may have fallen perfect.
He's one of those players who bustles around the table. Always busy, always energetic. Really good guy. He's universally liked on the circuit. And over the last couple of years, it's as though he's come of age. He won a couple of Euro Tour events in 2021. To do that is no mean feat. And now he's competing so fiercely here. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz was 4-0 down. He was also 6-3 down, but he's down no more. It is all tied up at 6-6.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
Now this is table 3, Sanyan Perlovanovic trying to climb a very high pool mountain. He was 10-0 down to David Al-Kaidi, hardly got a shot. Now though it is 10-2. He's trying to restore some respectability to the scoreline. Breaking off he is in rack 13, Sanyan.
Rack number 13. We are currently tied at 6 games apiece.
We'll keep you informed about that. The end still nigh for Perlovanovic, one has to say. As for this match, it could not be any more contrasting. Couldn't be tighter.
Yeah, both matches breaking off in the 13th game, and 2 different stories, that's for sure. Yeah, seems like the table's breaking nice from that right side rail, their right side rail. Not sure if this is a playable shot or not on the 3. You can certainly see the 3, but how much of it? That's the question. We'll see usually by the tip position. That'll tell us the shot. And I just don't think he can attack here. He's got to play a safety, I think, probably knocking the 3 around table, holding the cue ball underneath the 9, maybe using the 5 and 6 as well. All these shots are so important.
Extension, please.
And it's not overly dramatic to say, is it, Jeremy, that now we've arrived at 6-6. If you make a mistake here, it could be the last shot you play in the championship.
Absolutely. It's going to happen to someone, that's for sure. And the way these two have played so far, I mean, Ruiz has a dry break, really no mistakes after that. Dennis, maybe a questionable push out, which we'll see if that's a discussion after this match, but and then 2 kick shots that got away from him. So yeah, mistakes are going to cost you more than 1 rack, it seems like, in this match. All right, going to the air here. Takes a little weight off to get, you know, when the 9's a little closer, it'll take a little weight off. Go to the shorter version of the jump cue. Got action on the 7 as well here, not just the 3. Oh, wow, what a shot. Wow. Well, Dennis now, his last 3 shots, 2 kicks that lost the cue ball, and now a jump shot. That was very unfortunate, losing the cue ball as well.
A scratch fest for Orcollo. So unjust.
Yeah, very much so on those. And now Ruiz in perfect position to take his first lead. And even as unlucky as that was, he'll look at it like a mistake and try and really punish Dennis.
The way everything has gone in the last 15 minutes or so, I'll come back to what I was saying earlier. Is it destiny?
Well, I think it's been a year of that in Q Sports, with after SVB's win at the World Pool Championships, trailing Mika Immonen 10-3 and what looked like something that he just couldn't overcome, and he did so. You know what O'Sullivan did, winning his 7th world title there on the snooker end of things, and now Ruiz making his way through the UK Open.
That could be really significant. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz in front for the first time at 7-6. The beneficiary, the Spaniard, of 3 scratches from Dennis Orcollo. You don't expect that from the Filipino, but with the jump shot, he was cursed.
Very much so, and David Al-Kaidi back to the table trying to finish that match off. Mario, he looked like he was cruising. Just missed a 9-ball to go up 9-3 on Hoy.
Yes, Al-Qaidi just a couple of pots away from becoming the first player into the quarter-final. If he does go through, he will play either Hoy or he. Very accomplished performance, this, Jeremy.
Sir, as they say, vamos for David Al-Qaidi.
The popular twice World Pool Masters champion from Spain, Masters Sanyin Perlovanovic. The final score, 11-2. He's into the last 8. The first player into
Our current
that
score
stage
is
of the UK
7-6
Open.
in favor of Mr. Sanchez Ruiz.
Yeah, and
Mr. Sanchez Ruiz to break.
that missed 9-ball by he didn't cost him because Hoy returned the favor, and now ahead 9-3 and in a stronghold on that match. No corner ball that time. The 1 down. Is the 8 going to get in the way of the 2? It doesn't appear so. The 3 coming up table, so great chance for Ruiz.
Is it legitimate to use my favourite word, or favourite 2 words, for the first time today? Roadmap.
Well, I mean, he's got to make a little bit of a shot here on the 2 ball. I mean, he's in position for it. Of course, you can't take your eye off of anything at this stage, but yeah, I mean, the 3's near the pocket, the 4's also near the 3. He does have to track the cue ball up table from the 4 to the 5 and then back down for the 6, so I wouldn't say a road match just yet. We'll save that one, Phil.
I'll take your word for it.
Don't let these players, the talent of them, just fool you on how incredible they make these racks look. A lot of work. Okay, so it looks like he's got options. He can go between the 9-7, or he could pull the cue ball around the 7. He's kind of on the fence for both. I think he probably pulls the cue ball around the 7. So he's got to dig here. Low left English. Kind of let up on that one. I'm not sure that was exactly the swing he wanted, but it's going to be okay. The problem is he's a little thin on the 5. The 6 doesn't pass the 7. He's already played a couple very cute position shots in this match, so he needs another now. It's all speed control here, Phil. Ruiz looks tuned in.
He seems to me to have so much confidence he can't wait to play the next shot. And when he's like this, he's a dangerous animal.
He's a little stretched here, probably kind of stuns the ball around the 9. No reason to really threaten coming 1 rail right here. I mean, you could, but he usually likes the 2 rail route.
Extension, please.
May not get as close to the 8 as he would with 1 rail, but still should be pretty good.
All players, without exception, thrive on confidence. That's a given in cue sports, but I think with him, it's even more pronounced. He's a confidence monster. When he's feeling good, he's a completely different player to when he's struggling a little. He's not struggling now. After being behind for the vast majority of the match at 4-0 and 6-3, he's won 5 racks in succession to lead Denis Orcollo 8-6. This really is high stakes pool. Apart from the prize money offer at the UK Open, it also is extremely significant in terms of those new 9-ball rankings. So the guys who've reached this stage are guaranteed $3,750. It starts to ramp up, doesn't it? If you get to the semi-finals, which we will see tomorrow, $7,500 US, and the winner will receive 30,000 US. Total prize fund, 200,000. Now, I was talking about those 9-ball rankings. These are the live rankings as it stands. Look at David Al-Qaedi, number 3, and with that victory already here today. Carlo Biardo, the US Open champion 4, Albin Aushin, last year's world champion 2, Shane Van Boening, the winner of this year's world championship in Milton Keynes in April, he is number 1. So many great names on that list.
In favor of Mr. Sanchez Ruiz.
Yeah, an all-important list to these players as well.
Break.
Something that's going to get them in the events they want to play in. Of course, being seeded just in all the events as well, that has a bonus. All right, making 3 on the break, I believe. He's got a great shot on the 2. Should extend his lead.
Roadmap?
I was waiting for one more look. I knew it was coming, and I think this is a little more just with those 2 words you adore so much. And look at this, the 2 leads to the 3. Just got to come across table a little bit for the 4 with the 6 handy and the 7 over the side. And unless he gets out of line somewhere, and a little out of line here, nothing major. You might say it wasn't his original plan to have to play the 3 with a little more speed or maybe a little more cue ball movement, but definitely the type of break off he'd love to keep the entire tournament. 2 rails back and forth. Almost, you know, Al-Qaedi done now, but almost feels like these 2 were feeding off each other a little bit. Him and Ruiz. And a lot of Spanish fans in the crowd. They showed up a couple days ago to sweat these guys.
Extension, please.
And I'll say it again, we were talking about the 9-ball rankings and the prize money, all of which is a massive incentive. But for the European players, always in the back of their minds, certainly at this time of year, it becomes more in the forefront of their minds as the calendar year progresses. But in their minds, Mosconi Cup selection. And Francisco Sanchez Ruiz definitely on the radar in that regard.
Yeah, and been on the radar for some time, and you know, arguably could have made the team already, right? Some people's opinions, and he's trying to take those opinions away and make it fact.
Six of the best from Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. Having trailed 6-3, he now leads 9-6. Dennis Orcollo finds himself
If you wanted to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
So much action at the Copper Box Arena in East London so far today. A new match has started out on table 3. We've seen David Alcady come through on that table earlier. Now it is from Poland, Karol Skawerski up against Serbia's Alexa Paszelc. I can tell you, Skawerski has taken the opening rack. 10 years on he is from winning the Whirlpool Masters in his native Poland. This would be an equally terrific achievement if he could go all the way and win the UK Open title. On table 2, Mario He from Austria is on the hill against Naoki Oi. Pool's court jester has had the smile wiped off his face. He's 10-3 down. It's been Super Mario so far. One ball going astray. It would be a gargantuan comeback if he were to collapse. Can't see it somehow.
Rack number 16. Our current score is 9-6 in favor of Mr. Sanchez Ruiz. Mr. Sanchez Ruiz to break.
As for centre stage, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz breaking off, needing 2 racks to make it a couple of Spaniards in the quarterfinals.
Well, it looks like a combination he may not be able to pass on. We'll see when the balls settle here from the overhead. That'll give us the better look as far as the angle. Yeah, he's got to shoot at this, especially with the tied up 2-7 combination on the left rail. I guess he doesn't have to shoot at this. The 2-7 is playable, so he was to miss this, he would give Dennis possibly a chance to get started trailing 9-6.
Can he resist the temptation? One slice of brilliance and he'd be on the hill.
Please.
A tough decision. He could play the 1 by the 9, putting the 1 near the 7. Put the cue ball underneath the pink 4. I think he's supposed to shoot at this. I really do. Now, how he wants to shoot at it, I would disregard the cue ball as far as safety here. I'd go with a high ball. Some players would pull this ball with a low left English trying to get the cue ball up table. I think I'd just go with a high ball, maybe go right into the pink. Simplify the shot. Yeah, it looks like he was going to put English. And shot clock, we talked about it early. It got to him there.
Dennis was laughing there, got the look on his face as to say, well, you can't complain too much. I've had 3 scratches. That's only your first.
And he shot it the way I was talking about. I probably wouldn't have. He hit it with a low left, and it's just a lot more things you have to think about rather than just a natural high ball. I think the 2-7 is playable, though, so Dennis has got to love this. Could have been faced a 10-6 deficit with Ruiz back
Extension,
breaking.
please.
And now ball in hand. I was wondering about that. I was wondering why he would shoot it with that manner. Now he may have to pull this ball a little bit up the table and back down for the 2-7, but okay, he's got quite a bit of cut on the 2 now. Didn't really lay on the rail maybe like he wanted. So now the 2 ball is going to have a little movement along with the cue ball, so he's got to manage position on the 2 afterwards. He could get a double hit here on the 2 like that, and I was wondering if it was going to work out or not.
I'll tell you what, folks, Jeremy Jones, former US Open champion, knows this game inside out.
Yeah, spent a lot of time. I do like it over on this side, even though I'm missing playing a little bit, but it's super sweet job getting to watch the best in the world day in, day out.
We were never going to write off Denis Orcollo, and certainly not now. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz took on that 1-9 combination. He didn't make it, and once more he scratched. Could that be another twist in the tail? Now Michael is down on the floor talking to our first winner of the day.
Thank you very much. Yes, our first quarterfinalist, David Arcady, amigo. Congratulations. How happy are you?
Thank you so much. Of course, I'm very happy. I played so good my last match. I'm so confident.
You know Sanyin Perlehanovic on the Euro Tour as well, a very dangerous player, good young player, but you showed your class.
Yeah, he's tough player. He have a lot of confidence, but in the beginning I break so good. I have a little lucky in all position. I don't mistake any ball. When I play safe, he miss his tough shot. I don't give any chance.
This has been a fantastic tournament so far, hasn't it? Have you enjoyed your week?
Yeah, of course. All tournament for Mushroom is fantastic tournament. Especially UK Open is also fantastic. We will see what happens in the last 8.
Yeah. Well, you're playing well. So if you play like this, you're going to be one of the favourites to win this.
Yeah, I need to continue in this level. I hope my break works so good. The same last round. We will see.
Would you describe that performance? Lovely.
Lovely.
Lovely. Congratulations.
Orcollo to break.
David Arcady, and indeed the man we've been watching this morning, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, aren't just players, they are commentators as well. They commentate in Spanish language on lots of the big snooker events.
Yeah, talented individuals, and this is what I feared. I commented on it last time Dennis broke, that he took a little speed off, and I don't like the chances of the corner ball with the wooden rack from what I've seen so far. With the lighter side on the break, we've seen Ruiz, he's just unloading and making balls, but yeah, maybe a little lapse there mentally. You got to pay attention to everything that's going on in our sport, just because just one opening can end your tournament run. And that's got to travel a touch. It just got there, kind of breaking that plane to where he can pull this ball 2 rails between the 4 and the 8 back down table for the 3. That ball gets a little thinner. This gets very, very dicey, this shot here. Got to get into the cue ball a lot, though. Make sure he doesn't flirt with that scratch up the table, the top right corner. Now's where the rack really becomes difficult. Phil, the 5 doesn't pass the 7. The 8's there, kind of hampering movement off the 4 up for the 5. So lots going on left in this rack. He's falling fairly straight, but maybe a hint of an angle. Checking the 5 again. I'm not sure why. It certainly hasn't changed, but now has to draw the ball back. It wouldn't mind the bank shot on the 5, really. He's gotten into a great position, and still with that rhythm, Phil. He looks great at the table.
For several years, he showed glimpses of this, but never at a sustained level. But over the last couple of years, he's grown more and more formidable.
Yeah, and if you had to pick one player in the final 16, you know, not maybe week in, week out, but this week alone, to overcome a 4-0 deficit early and do it with, you know, what looks like just kind of floating around the table, that being Ruiz, I think this is the guy you would have picked. He's faced a difficult task, it seems like, the entire week.
Well, if he goes on to win the tournament, and that's something I'm not discounting, it would be 13 matches played for him. And it wouldn't be an unlucky 13 either. So Francisco Sanchez Ruiz finds himself on the hill. He leads Dennis Orcollo, one of the big favourites coming into the penultimate day of the UK Open. He leads by 10 racks to 7. We have another result over on table 2, I can tell you. Mario He has defeated Naoki Oi by 11 racks to 4. So we know one of our quarterfinals now. It will be David Alcade against that man, Mario He, a World Cup winner from Austria. Austria have got Max Lechner, they've got Albin Auschen. Their sole remaining representative here is Mario He, and he's acquitting himself with distinction.
Yeah, and you know, maybe a little something to say about not getting selected for the World Cup, but he understands that his countryman Max Lechner has made a bit more noise on the scene the last year and a half, and probably a deserving chance with Austria's finest Albin Auschen here just a month away. But Mario tending to business and is going to be into that final 8.
This was the winning shot, the combination. That will do nicely.
Mr. Sanchez Ruiz to break on the hill.
And if you're slated for the main table and as a player, you're going to pay attention to what Ruiz has done here from the right side on the break-off. See a little body get thrown into the break here. And definitely not gonna back down. Well, Dennis Orcollo. Oh, we're going to see him again. 2 dry breaks in a row here. One from Dennis, now one from FSR.
We've seen more dry breaks in this match than any other televised contest this week.
Yeah, I think maybe more than I remember the combination of all the matches, and playing the 1 off the 6. It was always going to be a dicey shot. Caught both the points, but did not fall.
Could that uncharacteristic misjudgment be Orcollo's closing effort of the tournament?
Well, it'd be hard to bet against it, Phil. I mean, Ruiz, he's had that one missed 4-ball, maybe the easiest shot he had. It was all about the cue ball that caused that miss. And other than that, it's been pretty picture perfect. Of course, he's got to work still. He's sizing up maybe a 6-9 kiss shot later to end this match, but he can play position on the 6 as well. There is some room.
Niels Feijen or Daniel Masséol will play the winner in the quarterfinals. And right now the winner looks like having 3 initials.
And you talk about we lost a few names, but so many trying to make even more of a name for themselves. And so awesome we have more events coming to where these guys can do just that. You think about it, only 30 years old, I believe, that being FSR, and here before long he's going to be one of the veterans in our sport. Game getting so much younger and younger. And this is what he's done real well, is keep it simple. Remember how well you're playing. Don't try to get too cute with position play. Just get down and do really the basis and basics of the game, pocketing the ball.
Extension, please.
Besides position, getting this green 6 down will probably get him into that final 8.
Just caught it a hair thick. It caught the near jaw, but went in.
Yeah, and that caught a little of the jaw, but it was all speed control. He knew he had a bit of an open pocket from that angle and that speed. I'll tell you, hats off to Dennis Orcollo. He's played a great tournament, but just this guy's still not to be denied.
In the Olympic Park, it is Viva España. First, David Alcaide through, and now he's good buddy. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. He trailed 4-0 and 6-3, but in the end, he got the job done. What a run this is. Against all adversity, against the odds, he's still here.